guys, and welcome back to Pick Up the Phone podcast with me, your host, Diamond Denise. This is a podcast where we answer the call that may make us laugh and it may make us cry, but we always lean on God's strength to keep going, no matter what. Okay, no matter what. If you tuned in last week, guys, you know we have been doing our voicemail. So if you have a voicemail, something that you want to leave, a comment, question, anything that you want us to actually discuss on the next episode, please leave us a comment, a DM. Make sure you put voicemail, and we hope to talk about it on the next show. All right. I am so excited to be having a conversation today. I hope you guys had a great week. I had a great week. I have no complaints. My week was pretty good. A little bit long, y'all. These days, my weeks just seem like they just get a little bit longer and longer, but definitely all good stuff. We had an event just this past weekend with some of our young adults at our church, and we ended up spending some time together and hanging out, and it was really good. So that was a highlight of my weekend. I thought about something that when I was listening back to the previous episode, and I was like, y'all, I did not grow up with 4 sisters, okay? So I had to come back and correct that. I grew up with 3 sisters. And guess if we count my mom, I kind of had 4 sisters. And I bet she probably missed having all of us in her house. But yeah, y'all, I only have 3 sisters. I guess I was thinking about myself. But fun fact, I have a twin sister, and I also have 2 little sisters that are also twins. So my mom had 2 sets of twins, and that's all she birthed. I also wanted to remind you guys, if you are enjoying the show, if you're enjoying the conversation, don't forget to leave a review, leave a comment on Spotify, Apple, and even YouTube. It really, really, really helps. So I hope that you guys do that for me. I would appreciate it. All right, so let's go ahead and just get into today's conversation. I want to just after listening to the previous episode again, I was just really reflecting. And the question that came to my mind was, what if I am bleeding? Like, what if you are that person that's bleeding and you really don't know you're bleeding? Or what if you're going through a season where it's like, maybe this is my bleeding out season? I think sometimes we are hesitant to actually deal with the bleeding out season, but it's crucial and it's important because sometimes you need things to drain out of you so you can like truly be healed and made whole. So I want to kind of get into that just a little bit and see where this conversation is going to take us. Okay. So when I think about bleeding out, the first thing that comes to me is definitely the woman with the issue of blood. And that's going to be found in Luke chapter 8. I want to just read one verse and then we'll just kind of talk around it. And I want to go to verse 48, I believe. Yeah, 48. And 48 says, "But Jesus said, 'Someone touched me, for I have perceived that power has gone out from me.'" 47, "And when the woman saw that she was not hidden, she came trembling and falling down before him, declared in the presence of all the people why she had touched him and how she had been immediately healed. And he said to her, 'Daughter, your faith has made you well. Go in peace.'" If you read, I started in verse 46, but so 46 through 48. If you read this in the King James Version, it's going to say, "Your faith has made you whole." So let's stick with that for a little bit. Now, the woman with the issue of blood, y'all, if you don't know, this was a woman who had a bleeding problem, right? And her problem was lasting for at least 12 years. First of all, we could stop right there because 12 years is actually crazy. I looked up how many days were in 12 years, y'all. 4,383 days. So for 4,383 days, she was bleeding. I mean, we only got to deal with like maybe 3 to 7 days. 4,000, super crazy, right? So in this time, like I already know, like we probably feel uncomfortable. We can know and we can definitely imagine that she was isolated because in that time that was considered unclean. So she was isolated. You know, she was probably in pain. She was probably just never really comfortable, never able to really just be settled. She lived trapped in solitude by her own condition. And we already know this is we know what people will do, right? Because people will see you in a moment. We talked about this. They'll see you in a moment when you're going through something, when you're having a bleeding out season, and they kind of push you or shun you away. We know people blow things out of proportion and they'll blow it up. But my question that I sat with was, what happens when you're the one that blows it up? What happens when you live trapped by the things that you're going through and you begin to introduce yourself as what you're going through? What happens when your pain or your circumstances actually become your introductions and they begin to handicap you and cripple you? We know the one with the issue of blood, she spent money, right? She went out of her way trying to find a cure, trying to find answers, trying to seek help, trying to seek whatever she could to heal her. And we've gone through this ourselves, because when we're going through things in life, or when we're struggling, or when we have whatever it is that we're dealing with, we may seek people for some type of resolution. And a lot of times it ends up just pacifying our situation, right? You know, if we're dealing with rejection, we seek someone that we feel like may give us some comfort to feel like we're not being rejected. When we're going through a season where we feel lonely or isolated, we seek anything and anybody for comfort, even if it's not the right kind of comfort. If we have issues that we grew up with, maybe with like parents or love, we'll accept love from anything, even if it's not true and authentic or real love. And, you know, that type of seeking can sometimes lead to us falling for things that really aren't good for us. And sometimes it can be even illegal. I don't want to say illegal, but maybe illegal access to other realms or something like that. And so when I'm saying that, I mean more so of like we can seek answers outside of the will of God. I guess an example of that could be like you're seeking help from psychics, or, you know, we're seeking solitude or refuge in rocks and crystals and things like that, right? So you, in a time where you may be feeling like you just need something, you're almost desperate for anything that you feel like may be a solution to your problem. Does that make sense? We're seeking people that really don't have resolution, and all it really ends up doing is pacifying our situation, which can still sometimes even cause shame. Shame can show up in that situation, because now it's like I know that I'm not truly healed and I'm not truly authentic in the place that I should be or want to be, but, you know, I'm going to just keep faking it till I make it, and I'm going to keep just trying to show up. But I know that at any moment, someone could really expose what I really haven't dealt with, and in the places that I really haven't healed in. Now, at first I thought, in today's society, no, we will never do that, right? We will never let someone do that to us, because we live in a situation, or not a situation, a generation where we are like, hey, I'm going to do this. This is who I am. I'm bold. I'm going to declare it. You know, I'm taking off from work. I'm going to put my PTO in, and it's done, right? Prepare the others is what we say. But what happens when you need to prepare yourself? What happens when you're the one that needs to be prepared? Because for so long, you have let your introduction be fear. You know, you let your introduction be the shame. You let your introduction be the things that you've dealt with, the things that you've been through. Like you have almost attached them as your identity, and have let those things that you're going through become who you really are, or become who you present to be. The thing that came to my mind when I thought about that is that, you know, you will always live in fear of what you keep running from. Unless you actually deal with it, you will continue to hide from it, right? It's almost like someone who breaks the law, right? Or they're on the run. They're always going to be looking over their shoulder, wondering if today will be the day they get caught. Will today be the day that somebody actually realizes who they really are? They're never really safe and settled, because I haven't really dealt with what I'm running from. Right? Okay. I feel like this was an instance where this kind of came up for me. I was thinking about a time when I was younger. When I was younger, I grew up with like really severe acne. I had acne like almost all over my face. And I was made fun of a lot of times. And I think this really was in more so like maybe mm, middle school and high school. I would be made fun of for outside of acne, I'll get made fun of for just like different ways on how I looked or like my size or like how my head was, like all kinds of stuff. Like, y'all know kids. So I used to get called all kind of names. And honestly, growing up, like even with my acne and stuff, that was really a big area for me that I feel like it just caused a level of insecurity. I don't know. It really did. And my mom and I, we went to countless appointments and dermatologists and tests and blood work and all kinds of things, like the whole nine yard, just seeking some type of resolution for like what I was going through. I mean, you name it, probably tried it. I probably dealt with it. I probably was on it. I probably experienced it. And there was like a temporary thing that did work for a little while, but like this was something where like some of the kids would even like it was given very much. I don't want to it's hard for me to say a name because I don't want to say these names because I don't want anyone that may feel that way or that may be going through it to feel like, you know, bad about their situation, but like I mean when I tell you like my face was so red and I really sometimes I had no like clear spaces on my face, that's literally how it was, right? And my mom used to tell me, "Hey, you know what? Like walk with your head up, don't walk with your head down." But I was really like low key embarrassed because people would come up to you and try to offer you a solution for something that they're not even going through, right? Like as soon as you would see them, like the first thing they want to ask you about is instead of seeing you for who you are, they want to ask you about your face. Or they want to try to say, "Have you tried this?" or give you a solution for this or give you a solution for that. I remember even picking up this one little girl who I adored. And like the first, like as soon as I picked her up, the first thing she was like, "What happened to your face?" And I never put down a kid so fast in my life, okay? And so going through that, I feel like it almost this pain almost became my introduction. So like it caused me to not want to really be around people or be in people's faces or really like look at people. Now, granted, I am a shy individual and I think I'm very introverted, but like I just didn't feel comfortable and maybe a little socially awkward, I guess. But I just didn't feel comfortable like being in someone's face because I already assumed what the conversation may be or what the perception was going to be. Right. So it caused me to isolate myself and carry the feelings and emotions that I would have into every other relationship and with other people. So I didn't really give people the chance to do anything differently because I already assumed how the conversation was going to be, how the relationship was going to be, right? And I think that's what we do. That's what we do when we go through things and when we deal with things. And it almost allows us to turn we turn to temporary highs or temporary things of satisfaction because we're looking for comfort in the wrong places, right? For me, you know, at that young age, I can't really say that I was like turning to, I know I told you some things I was turning to previously. When I would isolate myself from other people, I think more so than turning to things for satisfaction, I think that kind of grew as I got older. I think as I was younger, it was more so of like a self identity thing that I had to deal with. Yeah, that's kind of deep, actually. That's crazy. Yeah. I think in those moments, I really didn't see myself for who I was. Like, I only saw myself as the girl that had to deal with this. So I even wonder, and this may be some more digging, y'all. This is a healing journey for everybody, I guess. I may have to dig into this some more, but I even wonder if in those moments, like that whole self love for yourself, like I question where that really was. But I can say as I got older, because I judged the perception of people maybe based off of how I showed up. And if somebody didn't like something or didn't agree with something, it's almost like I would conform or try to change because I wanted to avoid feeling what I used to feel, right? Like that's kind of what I was talking about in like the previous episode. Like if I would interact or engage with people in during my college years and I knew that I didn't like that feeling of maybe the rejection piece of it that can come with that. That's deep. I wasn't planning on going here. But if I didn't really like the rejection piece of how I felt because of the rejection that I received maybe growing up, I wanted to avoid being isolated and lonely. So I would mask that and conform. And I would look for satisfaction in the things that I would indulge in because temporarily it made me not have to deal with the feelings that I dealt with when I was younger because I ain't really want to go through that again. Mm, that's crazy. I got to ponder on that some more. But again, turning to temporary highs, right? Turning to temporary highs and looking for comfort in the wrong places because I was avoiding rejection. I guess I was avoiding the things that I didn't really actually deal with. And so within that, you will do anything to escape the feelings and avoid dealing with the issue because the unaddressed source is fertile ground for chaos. Ooh, when you don't address the root of something, it grows into something that's way bigger than you can actually control. It gets deeper, it gets crazier because you didn't address it. And I believe it's really a trick of the enemy, y'all. I told y'all before, it always starts as something small, but it's a trick of the enemy to get you just distracted enough or consumed enough with yourself or pulled away or isolated from people and community. And then you don't really actually walk into or do the things that God is calling you to do. You miss out on your purpose. The root of something can grow. The root of rejection can grow to depression, addiction, whatever the case was. You know what I'm saying? Like that's a trick of the enemy. And we really do have to be aware and not be deceived by these devices so that we don't continue to bleed and we can truly be made whole. But it has to be a choice, y'all. It has to be a choice for us not to let the noise distract us. One thing I think about is laundry. Why? Because I hate it. Okay, I hate laundry. That's the one thing that I could pay someone to do would definitely be laundry. And sometimes I would like I live in my laundry room is not that big. But so sometimes my laundry, y'all, it will pile up. And even though I may wash everything, I may just pile up. I'm telling you my business. It will pile up and I may just have all of my clean clothes just sitting in one spot because I haven't taken the time to like fold them and put them away. I just don't want to do it. Okay. And honestly, what that used to do, I used to feel like, oh man, like my laundry is so much laundry that it's almost distracting me where I'm like, it would take me out of the presence of God. Like, I'm like, I gotta have all this done or I can't function or I can't pray or I can't seek God, right? And so then sometimes I would end up finding myself spending all this time. That means y'all know I had a lot of laundry. All this time trying to put my laundry away. And then by the time I'm done, I'm probably taking breaks in between it just because I'm avoiding dealing with the laundry. And by the time I'm done, I'm tired. And then I don't have no time to pray, no time to get in God's presence. And that's what distractions do. That distract us from seeking God's presence. I remember about, we know the story. We maybe not, I don't want to assume we know it, but we know about Martha and Mary. And the thing is, guys, even though there are other things that may need to be done, there should be nothing that would be more important than you being in the presence because in the presence that's where you can actually get the true healing that you need. In the presence that's where you can be made whole, and in the presence that's where you can get the strength to keep going. So we don't want to allow those things to take us out of his presence and we have to be aware that they're just distractions. All of it, any of it, in any way. Just as easy as it could be laundry, it can be people. It can be things that we're doing, things that we're indulging in, music we listen to, all these things, places that we go. We got to be very mindful of those things. Okay. I'm so glad, y'all, that there's hope and in the distractions and in the midst of everything else. And I say that because we said the woman was isolated. She probably felt fear. She probably felt rejection. But in the midst of all of that, she still chose to pursue God and press through all of that just to touch the hem of his garment. So if we can just have enough faith to just reach out and touch God, if we can have enough faith to let go and silence every other noise and reach out and touch him, we can be made whole. But it's a choice, y'all. She had to choose. And that's the thing. God gives us free will. You have a choice to make. You're going, as long as you're in a human body, you're going to be tempted. As long as you're in a human body, there's going to be things that's going to come to try to take you off course. It's not going to be a yes and everything clears away and gets out of your way. You're going to have to choose to pursue and to press and to go after God in the midst of your own fear, your own insecurities, your own rejection, fear, people, situations, things around you. Ooh, am I going to allow all these things to really distract me, or am I going to choose to make a choice to press through and still choose to pursue God? It's a choice that has to be made. And I think a lot of times we want a quick fix. Like we want to say, God, I accept you, and now I'm living a blessed life. And now I'm living free. I'm living in all these things. We want a quick fix, like we think it's Amazon Prime, but it's not. I think we feel like, oh, I'm healed now, so I shouldn't have to suffer ever again. Or I'm free now, so I shouldn't have to make the hard choices and make the hard decisions. But the Bible lets us know, y'all, we have to choose to die daily. It's a daily sacrifice. It's a daily decision. It's a daily decision to not live in chaos. It's a daily decision to work out your own salvation. It's a daily decision to make the choices that are going to push you in towards the things of God or push you towards the things that are not of God. Because it's not enough to just confess it with your mouth if your decisions don't begin to align up with your decisions, right? I could say right now that I am a veterinarian, okay? I'm a veterinarian. And then you're going to be like, okay, show me the credentials. Did you go to school? Do you have any work? What are you doing? Has your actions and the things that you've done and the choices that you've made align with what you claiming and professing to be? Because if they don't, then what you're saying to me is just words. Ooh, you're just talking. So we have to make sure that the actions and the decisions and the choices we make actually align with what we say out of our mouth. And that's how we begin to be made whole. That's how we begin to work out. That's how we begin to heal. We have enough faith to not just say it, but do the work that's required with it. Yeah, we got enough faith to believe it and actually make the choice to keep walking towards what we say we will believe. Because honestly, it's not enough to just have good actions one day. And then you don't endure until the end. You got to endure. You got to keep running. You got to keep making those sacrifices. The best athletes, y'all, aren't the best athletes because they had one good game. They aren't the best athletes because they won one championship. They're the best athletes because they chose to make it a daily decision, a lifestyle, a habit to work towards being the best. Even when it's inconvenient, even when it's early in the morning or late at night. Y'all know I used to run track, but I was good. Okay, I ran the 400. And even though I didn't go to the Olympics and everything like that, even though I didn't make it that far, when we used to work out, there were times where I did not feel like going to work out, but I still had to show up if I was going to run and perform the way I wanted to perform. I still had to stay late at night or wake up early in the morning and get on the track and do the things that were required for me to be able to perform. Right? I still had to make sure I was eating outside of just regular practice. I had to still make sure I was eating things I needed to eat. I had to make sure I was feeding my body the things that I needed so that I could actually perform. So it is in the natural, so it is in the spirit. There's going to be sacrifices that we're going to have to make. We're not going to be able to choose to indulge in everything. You know what I'm saying? You can't eat all the junk food and then say, I want to build muscle. It don't work like that. We got to make a choice. You can't go hang out late at night knowing you got a meet in the morning, early in the morning. Your body's not going to be well rested, right? So there's things that we can't do if we really want to be what we're saying we want to be. And I want us to be made whole. I want us to be completely whole, completely healed. So I want us to recognize these things that may have been a distraction. Sit down and think about what is distracting me. What am I still holding on to? What is still maybe in my heart that people may have noticed? Or what am I noticing? What is causing me to not really get into the presence of God? What am I letting make me feel like I don't belong in the presence of God? And if I am trying to get in there and I'm finding that it's hard and I'm having to push a little bit harder and I'm having to press, because there's going to be times where you do have to press, but what is tugging on me that doesn't want to let me really go towards God and do the things that God is calling me to do? Who is tugging on me? Am I letting too many other things have influence and decisions in my life, even my own decisions and thoughts, that are causing me to isolate myself and not fully pursue the things that God's calling me into? Because I want us to be made whole, y'all. I really do. I want us to truly walk it out, because at the end of the day, purpose is going to follow presence, and we don't want anything to keep us out of the presence of God. That's all the Lord has for today. Amen. Amen, lights. I really hope that this episode was really a blessing to you. I hope that something was said. Actually, I'm going to stop saying I hope. I know that God said something that will be impactful to your life. And I'm just excited just for God to just keep speaking. And that's it. I have no other words for that. I have no other words. So thank you. Let's get there. Thank you guys so much for taking the time to be with me today and listening to today's episode. If today's episode spoke to you guys, I would love for you to share with a friend, share with family, share with anyone, leave a review so that others can be encouraged too. And remember, no matter what season you are in your life, keep picking up the phone. Until next time, keep your connection on and your faith strong. Bye.